Hi YouTube, welcome back, and welcome back to me too, I suppose. It's been a little while since I've done one of these. I've been away for the whole month of February, traveling and working, but I just didn't really have the YouTube set up anywhere that I was. Anyway, we're back. I've been in South Africa. It was amazing. Beautiful weather, beautiful people, beautiful food. Honestly, what more could you want, frankly? But I am a real creature of habit, so I am so happy to be back and to kind of be back in my usual rhythms, my usual routines, catching up with all my clients this week, and it's been a really good one so far. So I thought I would also catch up with you guys, and I thought I would do this episode on nutrition, and more specifically, how I approach my nutrition, right? Whether that's in a deficit or at maintenance, honestly, the principles, the structures, they all remain pretty much the same. I get a lot of questions about how I approach nutrition, and I get quite a lot of requests about what I eat in a day type content. And I've never done one of those. I've literally never done a here is what I eat in a day. I just don't think it's helpful content, honestly. I really think it can cause those thoughts and feelings of like comparison, or it can maybe encourage you to think, well, if I eat this way, then I'll look a certain way, or I need to be copying somebody else's nutrition approach in order to get me closer to my goals, be that aesthetic, performance, whatever, right? I just think a lot of that content is not only unhelpful, but also it's often put out there to be almost inflammatory. There's so much content at the minute around eating really like weird things, right? Like putting butter in your coffee, or only eating 100% organic foods. And the elitism in some of this content is just insane to me. Who can afford grass-fed beef 100% of the time, and who can afford honey literally squeezed from bees or whatever? I just think it's all a bit icky. I've never done this, and I'm not going to do it in the normal way of look at my plate of food, but I am going to be talking through the principles and the thought processes, the logic behind how I approach my nutrition on a day-to-day basis as someone who prioritizes body composition, wanting to hold on to lean mass, wanting to be able to perform well, and generally wanting to maintain the current physique that I have. Staying relatively lean, looking strong, but fueling myself really well. And also I think doing it this way is actually going to be helpful for you, something you can actually take along the way and apply yourself, right? So hopefully this helps. At the moment, for context, I do not currently track my nutrition at all. However, I do have a lot of experience and knowledge of tracking. I know what works for my body. I know rough intakes of what I'm getting each day without even needing to track. That's not because I have some sort of gift that nobody else has. It's just that I've literally done it for a really long time. I've been through various trial and errors, figuring out what is the right amount of fuel for my body to feel my best. I'm not tracking, but I do have a high level of nutritional IQ. In other words, I know what's in my food. I know in terms of calories, in terms of macros, what is in each of my meals roughly. And that really allows me to be a lot more intuitive with the way that I approach my nutrition. I think people can think of intuitive eating as just some sort of gut feeling, just something you just know. And actually, I don't believe you can really be fully intuitive until you have the intention, right? You need to build the intention in via learning what is in your food, how to track things, how to create portion sizes, how to fuel for your performance based on whatever your schedule looks like. That needs to be built first. Then you can move to that more intuitive type approach, which is kind of what I'm explaining here in terms of how I don't track, but I am very aware of what it is that I'm eating. The key principles that I will apply when it comes to my day of eating, or any normal day for me, is that each of my meals will be based around three main things: protein, carbs, and color. Protein we know is really important for muscle maintenance, for muscle growth, muscle repair. We also know that it helps to keep us feeling really satisfied between our meals. Super important. Carbs are our body's preferred source of energy. We absolutely need carbs if we want to be feeling energized, if we want to be able to train hard in the gym. Carbs are so important and so unfairly demonized. And then color is really where we get a lot of our fiber, a lot of our vitamins and minerals from. Again, with this, it can really help with that satiation piece. If you're bulking out your meals with lots of fruits, vegetables, salads, it can help with that stomach fullness, but it's also just crucial for our overall health. I will make sure each of those boxes are ticked in honestly 9 meals out of 10. I hope it goes without saying that there is the odd occasion where I'll just have a croissant for breakfast because that's what I fancy, or I'll just have a cheese sandwich for my lunch because that's what I fancy. But I will not be doing that on a daily basis. It is more often than not PCC with every meal. And look, I don't want you thinking that I am whipping up some kind of gourmet meal every time I sit down to eat with this beautifully presented portion of protein, carbs, and color. I'm not, okay? Sometimes that might look like a protein shake, a rice cake, and a handful of berries, but it's still ticking those 3 boxes. And again, for me, this has taken a little while to figure out, but I know what my structure in terms of meals per day looks like. A good structure that makes me feel good, that allows me to stay in what I call the sweet spot on the hunger scale. So never starving, never stuffed. And that for me looks like a breakfast, a lunch, an afternoon snack, and a dinner. So I'm having 4 main meals per day, and I'm adding in snacks, smaller snacks, wherever I need to. So if I'm training that morning, I will have a snack pre-workout. I used to train fasted for years, never had any problem with that, honestly. And again, try not to listen too much to a lot of the content that's telling you you're gonna wreck your hormones by training on an empty stomach. The reality is, if you're eating a nice, satisfying dinner the night before, you're waking up at 5 a.m. and getting to the gym for 5:30, you're still gonna be digesting some of that food. You're not truly fasted training. Like, you're gonna survive a 45-minute workout without eating anything. I have just found over the years that as I've gotten stronger and as my training stimulus has gotten harder, that if I don't eat before, I tend to find myself dropping off at kind of minute 30. I'm thinking, God, I could really do without these last 2 exercises because I am pooped and I'm hungry, right? I don't want to feel like that. I have now started introducing that pre-workout snack, and it is something small. It's something like a banana, slice of toast with honey. It is carb focused. Again, easy to digest, quick release energy. That's what I need when I'm thinking about getting into the gym and training hard. After training, I'll come home, I'll have my breakfast, and that is going to be more of a balanced meal. That's where the PCC comes back in. I'll also more often than not have something after dinner. And again, it's a small snack. It's usually chocolate focused, if I'm completely honest with you. But that will be a controlled portion, not because I'm not allowed chocolate or I'm not allowed a certain amount of chocolate, just because I'm pretty full from my dinner and I just want something sweet with a cup of tea. Now that structure, when I talk about 4 meals a day, for a lot of people that start working with me initially, they'll go, God, I don't need 4 meals a day. But then when we dig a bit deeper, we'll figure out that they often struggle with overeating in the evening, snacking and grazing throughout the day, eating very, very little some days and then really going overboard on others. And what we tend to find is by introducing more food initially, it actually stops all of those habits and behaviors that they're wanting to kick. And in reality, it's not actually more food. On average, we're just bringing in more structure and more intention to the nutrition that you're eating. And then when we think about kind of what I'm eating specifically, for me, I would genuinely, I think a lot of people say this, but I am really passionate about food. I really enjoy food. Going out for a beautiful meal that's been thoughtfully prepared and cooked to perfection is quite literally my dream evening. I absolutely am not one of those people who just eats because they have to, although apparently they do exist. Now, having said that, I'm also aware and okay with the fact that not every meal needs to be some incredible experience, right? Monday through Friday, a normal working week where I'm busy, I don't have a load of free time to be cooking up something elaborate or even thinking about what I'm eating, I will genuinely eat very similar meals a lot of the time. Thinking about that PCC type principle. Rather than creating a new recipe every day or every week, honestly couldn't think of anything worse, I will literally just choose a variety of protein sources, a variety of carb sources, a variety of color sources, and I will mix and match. For example, I have eaten pretty much the exact same breakfast for the best part of 6 months. And that does not bother me in the slightest. Again, it's not every day, but on a normal run-of-the-mill Tuesday, I'm probably gonna have something that I know works and that I feel like tastes good, right? That's all I need. Something that's gonna fuel me well and I'm gonna enjoy eating it. It certainly doesn't need to be another TikTok recipe. I don't need to be baking protein muffins from scratch every Sunday to have as my afternoon snack. I'm just gonna keep it really fucking simple. And actually, this is anecdotal. I don't have any scientific evidence to back this up, but I do have to say, a lot of the people that I speak to who are objectively fit, healthy, in good shape, they will have a similar habit in that they are not afraid to repeat meals that work for them, that are easy to prepare, take less than 20 minutes to throw together in the moment, and that don't have 15 different ingredients in them. It's often very obvious what it is, and it is that protein, carbs, and color type meal. There's a reason that a load of bodybuilders are obsessed with chicken, rice, and veg. I fucking love chicken, rice, and veg. There is nothing wrong with chicken, rice, and veg for lunch with a bit of sriracha and some good seasoning. What is wrong with that? I would much rather have that than a shitty baguette from Pret any day. And again, this isn't to say that I only eat one specific meal for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day for the rest of my life, and I'm fine with that. I would just much rather think about when I have a little more time and headspace in my week, which is usually the weekend, save my variety for then. We have maybe 10 meals that we cycle through for dinner time. Again, when you've got a little bit more time in your hands, you can spend some time cooking. I don't have time to be cooking something brand new for lunch every day. I'm just gonna stick to those anchors and those principles that I know keep me straight. But some dinners and definitely weekends, sure, I'm gonna be adding in variety as and when I feel like it. It's probably also gonna be slightly less health focused, a little more fun focused. But I genuinely think one of the most common questions I'll get is, can I have some meal ideas? Give me some inspo. And I just think you don't need another recipe. It's the last thing you need. We literally exist on all of these apps where you could have a million different breakfast ideas saved in your Instagram folder, but you cannot tell me that you're gonna actually make those. You're not. You don't have time. You're a busy person. We don't need more information. We just need some really simple frameworks that work. And when it comes to having more indulgent type meals, which I will definitely have at least once a week, I'm not making any adjustments for that, right? I'm not eating my lunch because I'm going out for dinner. I'm not skipping breakfast the next day because I went out for dinner the night before. Again, I think that is such a common thing that we see women do all the time in order to try and undo some of that damage. And it actually creates the wrong kind of behaviors because you restrict and then you're obviously hungry and then you're thinking, why am I hungry? I had this big meal out last night. There must be something wrong with me. I need to cut my calories even more. You can't stick to that. You end up overeating. The cycle continues. It's a whole thing. I just eat the meal, enjoy the meal, get back to doing what I was doing before. And again, another question I get quite a lot is, do you offer meal plans? No, I do not offer meal plans for good reason. Firstly, if any fitness coach who is not also a registered nutritionist or dietitian, like they shouldn't be offering you a meal plan. That's outside of their scope of practice, right? Not only is that a red flag, but also anyone can follow instructions, right? I could tell you, I guess, what to eat every day, and you can follow that pretty blindly without any knowledge behind why or what structures, frameworks I'm using, what the logic is. But then what happens when that disappears? What happens when you go on holiday and you don't have a meal plan? What happens when your subscription to said meal plan ends, right? You are no further forward than you were in the beginning, which is why my entire coaching approach is based around systems, frameworks, structures. that you can use in your real life that carry you through when life is imperfect, because it always will be. And I totally get why content that suggests all you got to do is eat like this, or all you got to do is follow this list of instructions in order to get to where you're wanting to be is attractive, is engaging. I get that. And why the idea of just build in some like basic but firm structures around your approach to nutrition, around your daily movement, your daily habits, practice those over time, get it wrong, try again, persist, find ways around problems. I totally get why that doesn't feel quite so appealing, but here is the truth, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. That is the only way you are going to make lifelong change. This episode really isn't about copying my meals or even copying my exact structures, to be honest, because they might not work for your life, right? You have to take what's going to work for you. But the key takeaways from this is to make sure that you're creating a structure that allows you to eat pretty regularly, usually every 3 to 4 hours, works for most people, staying in that kind of sweet spot, not starving, not stuffed, anchoring your meals around things that really do objectively matter for health and aesthetics, like your protein, like your fiber, and allowing for some flexibility rather than thinking about, I've got a meal out on Saturday, what am I going to do? Do I need to adjust my calories for the rest of this week in order to make that fit? No, probably not, unless you are on a really quite strict and stringent time frame around fat loss. If the goal is maintenance, you really don't need to be worrying about individual occasions. Zoom out from single days, right? If it's one meal in isolation, where you know is going to be more calorie dense, more indulgent than usual, you are absolutely okay to accept that and move on. You don't need to alter your behaviors either side of that one occasion. If you take anything from this episode, please let it be that progress doesn't come from one perfectly executed day of eating. It comes from having simple and repeatable structures that you can fall back to every single time. And again, that's exactly what we focus on inside coaching. Helping people build a way of eating that supports their body composition goals, but that also allows them to live their life. It might not be that sexy, but let me tell you, it works. I really hope that was helpful. As always, please leave your questions in the comments. Remember to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Love you. Bye.